So if you've been following on Twitter, which you should be, you will know that I just recently released for beta my current game project, Outrun. And so I'm just coming back right now from a little bit of skating, getting my exercise in, and I've gotten a lot of responses asking, or really just talking about my visual design for it. And I thought, why not make a little video, explain everything that went in to create the environment for my Outrun game. And once I get back to my apartment, I will show you the way.
Olives had a major run. Maraschino cherries, major run. No one had a run like limes. No one.
I'm back in my apartment. Let me let my hair down. That's better. Drink. Alright, so if you're not familiar with my game, I'm going to go ahead and put a little picture, maybe right here, so you can see what it looks like and what exactly goes into curating this visual style. I'm not going to be talking too much about the individual coding, although we will get into a little bit of level scripting and some particular places, especially for the cars moving back and forth. That'll take just a little bit of finessing. So what you can expect to learn from this video is really, this is all going to be in Unreal. So we're going to learn how to bring basic models, but models from Blender to Unreal, how to texture them, how to create materials for them in Unreal, and then we'll also be learning some cool material functions, the interp2 function and blueprints, and just visual design, what kind of goes into my Cyberpunk aesthetic. So without further ado, I guess we're gonna get to the computer and I'll show you guys everything there is.
Okay, so before we really get into the nitty-gritty, I wanted to talk a little bit about finding the inspiration for this design and what exactly I thought would be most important bringing out and representing in a cyberpunk world to get across the whole cyberpunk aesthetic. And so in my findings, I was able to find 4, one of which I wasn't able to find again for this video. Fortunately, it was one of my favorites, but I tried to find another one that helped out, which is this one right here. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with is this photography by Steve Rowe, which I love because of its use of colors. Everything is bathed in this blue and this pink, and that's something that I never feel, or I rather personally see, that color scheme anywhere else. And so for me, being able to take that blue pink accent and work that into my visual design, I feel like would be very iconic and really set its place as a cyberpunk's futuristic neon feel. Secondly, I really enjoyed the Cure backdrops, one of my favorite cyberpunk movies. It's classic, but just the 2 layers. I loved, especially in movement, seeing this first layer and the parallax of just the enormous towers behind it. There's almost like an unmistakable size difference there, and it makes it feel almost otherworldly, almost this infinitely sized city. It's just a sprawl. It's a neo megalopolis. And that goes into this clip from Blade Runner. It really is kind of the same thing, just these smaller cities, but then we still have a giant, almost like a gargantuan megastructures behind it. And again, that I just love. It really immediately makes it feel like a bigger than life city, like a sprawl, like a neo megalopolis. And so finally, unfortunately, this was replacement for the one I couldn't find, which really kind of brought everything together I liked about those 3s into a kind of a perfect concept art illustration, but that's all right. So, but this gets across in a similar feel is that it's kind of it's very much concept art, silhouette. We can get the life-size scale. Buildings kind of go back and overlap on themselves. Just looking at this layer, because you will be flying through in the game this style of street, and so seeing how best that works with the towers behind it, how to create those layers. Because that's really what it came down to, I think, to get the feel of the cyberpunk city, the final feel. So, the first step I took was creating the individual buildings. I'll be opening a Blender. So obviously we're just making a rectangular building. So I'm just gonna move that up so the origin to 3D cursor, because my cursor is at the actual origin. This will just make the pivot point, right at the bottom of the building, so it's not like in the middle. It'll rotate how I want it to be. And then from there, I'm actually gonna open up edit mode, select this face. I'm just gonna stretch it up until I feel like I have a decent tower. Great. So this is some really advanced modeling we're doing here. So we're gonna take this. So first I'm actually gonna pull off this, and I'm gonna bring up viewer. actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and unwrap this. Or I'll smart UV, just see what happens. You know what? That's pretty, this looks pretty alright. Like, as long as these are side by side. Yeah, nice. So we'll just, ooh, okay, so that needs to be switched. And there we go. Cool, that looks like it's good. So just to double check, I'm just gonna reverse and go the boop, boop, boop. Alright, so that should mean that whatever I just, make straight across will wrap around the building as it should, as expected. You go to this, so it's UVs, export UV layout. I'm just gonna, I should have made a new folder. I'm gonna do this now, I'm making a new folder, so. Cool. Skyscraper, texture. I'm gonna put on some music. What do you guys like to listen to? I was listening to this apparently a second ago. You're about to be listening to, yep. Nice. Okay, so here in Photoshop, I'm just gonna go ahead and open up what I just made, that texture. So actually, I'm gonna try to do this a different way than I did on my first attempt. And, no, where's that window? Oh, I found it. It's just hiding over there for some reason. Okay, so I have a pattern that is just a line. This is actually used for making scan lines in glitch art, which I'll probably just, I followed a tutorial on that, so I'll probably just link a tutorial on how to make this particular thing beneath. But essentially what I'm going to try to do here is just click, yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to make some windows. I'm just adding these vertical lines in order to just kind of break up the style, add a little bit of, I guess breathing room to the viewer, so it's not just straight jagged lines going down the entire side. There's something else there going on visually. And then you may be asking yourself, Ryan, what is going on with all this part? And the answer is nothing. That does not matter. We can just forget about it because it's out here on the edge. That's actually outside of our texture right now. And so everything that's outside of these bounds will not be applied at all to the model. So this is face, top, bottom, nothing. And top and bottom actually, we'll clear those out. We don't want anything showing up on the top and the bottom. Clear it. And cool, so that should be it. This should be good. Okay, cool. So that is it. So we have a model and the texture. But now, what I need in order for it to work in Unreal is I'm going to actually export it as an FBX. I don't really know what that does, but I need to do it. The next step is to open up Unreal. Let me get some food soon. I'm hungry. Okay, cool. So, we're in Unreal now, and this is, you can already kind of see, this is what we're going for here. These buildings is what we're making. So let's go ahead and just make a new one. So I'm going, again, I'm making a new folder down here. Cool. I should probably have made a new project for this, but whatever, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna import our texture. Cool. You might get this error. That's okay. We didn't put smoothing groups on it. It's a flat cube. That's not that big of a deal. So this is what it looks like in game. Amazing, right? Still just a rectangle. So what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna make a new material, and I'm just gonna name this Skyscraper material. Open this baby up. Make that full screen. And we're gonna make it so this material only puts color on the parts of the texture that have color on them. So what we first need to do is to take a texture sample parameter, 2D. Bring that, and I'm just gonna name this just texture. And then from our texture list, we need to find a skyscraper texture. Easier way is to just take this and just drag it up and over. And we know we have the right one. Great. I'm gonna make sure, yep, this all does look transparent. So we should be good to take this transparency, this alpha value. What we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply it. And just we're gonna get another vector parameter 3D for a color parameter. Or it's just vector parameter, so we'll name this neon color. Cool. And for now we're gonna make this, just glowy and blue. We're gonna take the RGB and multiply it by the alpha value of our texture. After that, what we're gonna do, after I rename that, is we're gonna take this multiply and we're actually gonna make another multiply node. And this just will give us a little bit more power over how strong it glows. So we're just gonna come here, we're gonna make a scalar parameter, and I'm gonna rename that, I like to call it emissive power. How much it glows. And then pull that right into emissive color. And it might, once I put this to the default to 1, so it has just, a base emissive glow, it may already start doing something up here, but we'll see. I know there's one other thing we still need to do, and that's to take one more color parameter. Or excuse me, I keep saying that, vector parameter. And then base color. And this will be the color of everything that's not completely transparent. And this may work, may not work. We're getting some mixed results here. Looks like it works right there, but it doesn't seem to be working anyplace else. And to preview what this material actually looks like, and it's not going to look any less broken, I'm sure, but we can have a better idea of what we're working with here. And so cool. So what you'll notice is that actually, as we see on here where there's this little black bit, that's what's not covered. That's not what we touched in our texture, and so it's actually not showing up anywhere on here, which is great. That's just what we want. Oh, I'm gonna see, just taking this entire thing instead of the alpha, what does that do already? Does that change a whole lot? Not really, unfortunately. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna reopen Photoshop. We're gonna reopen that file. I think I'm just dumb. So what I did is I turned off the transparency of the actual texture map itself, where the outlines are and the shaded in graphics are, because that was totally affecting the mathematical value of the transparency that I was using to create the emissive value. So we'll just resave this as a PNG, and it may not still be totally fixed, but I believe this is a step in the right direction. Re-import this texture. Cool, and what we see is that happened is it's all blue now, which is totally intended, not really intended. I'm just gonna try moving to the alpha again, save, and there it is. Yeah, so it got working. So all we needed to do was fix this transparency issue in the back. There's still a little bit of, from the texture map itself, influence going on. A slight little bit of actual value there instead of purely transparent. They're upside down. They're upside down. It doesn't really matter which one I grab, I suppose, as long as it's both of them. Edit, transform, flip, vertical. Let's see how that looks. Re-import. Oops. Yeah, you have to turn off that, you have to turn off the actual texture map itself, because it has transparency on it. The reason I believe that it didn't do that on the other one is because I just turned the whole, back part black, and I don't pull from transparency, I pull from the actual RGB value, so it works correctly. And that looks like it almost fixed it. Yeah, it fixed it all but one edge. All but this edge right here, which honestly, I'm cool with. I'm cool with for now. I'll just always put that edge away from the player, right? They'll never know. Seriously, that would just take a little bit of finagling. I trust anyone watching this would be able to, they now have the tools in order to fix that small of an issue on their own. So that's the base tower. No, that's how you get, let's go and drag it out now. And see what it looks like actually, in the engine. Ooh, it's really small. I made the other one super big, but here it is. Check it out. So that is the first step of actually making the model, creating the texture, the material for this style of cyberpunk skyscraper building. Nice. So should add the tiling to it, because that is pretty important when we move forward in creating these giant ones versus these smaller ones. So I'm going to open up the skyscraper material again. We're just going to look at these side by side, aren't we? I think that'll be a great way to do it. We're still learning. So what we'll do is we'll take a texture coordinate, and what this does is it creates a like a field, a matrix. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I'll show it to you visually. A gradient from green to orange once it loads up, which it will. Yeah, there we go, from green to orange, and it will take those to use for the time. I don't know how that works, but what we're going to do is we're going to take it, we're going to multiply it by the scaling that we want, either for the x and the y. So we're going to make two scalar parameters, one for x scaling and one for y scaling. Cool. And you want to make sure that they are in this order, because what we're going to do is, with this append node, is we're going to turn this into a vector 2. And so the order is important because, let's go back to 6th grade real quick. When you're plotting points on plot graphs, it is the x value followed by the y value. In the same way here, we have the x scaling followed by the y scaling. So it is important to have that in the right way. So when we multiply it by the texture coordinate, by whatever magic that the texture coordinate exists on, whatever voodoo that is, it works correctly and it'll tie our image. So we'll just put that right into the UVs, save, and apply. And what we need to do is actually give these default values of 1. That'll be really important to make sure it doesn't just break right out of the box. And wonderful. And it still looks the exact same in engine. But what we're about to do here is I'm just going to create a material instance, and we're just going to name this tiled material. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because when you change the tiling in the material itself, that's true for every single implementation or reference to that material. They'll all have that exact same tiling I use. But when we're making a material instance, we are free to just manipulate those however we want to create whatever style size. Now, if you're going above and beyond, like I probably should in my life, but am not right now, you could create a secondary texture that works even better for these giant guys. But as you'll see, I literally just took the exact same thing and textured it out to make it look bigger. But I think it came out pretty well, well enough at least. So, hey, so that's the big first step. So we finally have, an actual building now. And it looks like it's from a neon city. I think that's pretty cool.